Okay, so welcome to these tutorials. So we're going to start basic and get a little bit more complex as we go. So for this first one, if we make sure we're in synchronous mode in Solid Edge 2022, we'll get prompted that. But remember, it's always a simple right click. If you've got a classic or above license, you'll have this option on here. So what we're going to do for this one is we're going to use our simple shapes tool. So I'm going to go and choose my cylinder. I'm going to hover over the front plane and press F3 to lock or click on the icon. Choose the center, set 16 as our diameter, and then we're going to go and extrude that. Notice if we tap the S key, not Shift key, sorry, that's going to allow us to go and move that size. So if we press 175, enter, that will then give us our simple extrusion. Okay, now I'm going to turn the base reference planes off to make it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to go and put on a 1.5 by 45 chamfer on each end. So our chamfer is similar to a round, so edge-based feature. So they're all in here. So we're going to choose the chamfer equal setbacks option on here. And then we're going to choose the edge either side. And because it's equal setback, it's going to be 45 degrees because of the faces we've selected. And then if we go and select 1.5, and if we press tab, that will give us like a preview. So we can press 2 preview tab, etc. So we can use that as a bit of a preview option. And then once we've finished that, we can just right click to finish that command. And then we can go back to the top left on there. And that is our first part. Very simple synchronous part on there. So I'm going to go and save that just using my standard part numbering on there. Okay, for this next one, we're looking at a revolve part. So this time, again, actually differently this time, I'm going to stay in order modeling this time. So I'm going to do a revolve part. I want it kind of revolved around the y-axis. So I'm going to, I can choose either sketch or revolve. It doesn't matter which way we do it. And then I'm going to go and choose that right plane. We can see our view cube, normally in the bottom right hand corner. I've just changed mine. We can, if we go to the little drop down button, we can go to the options to find out how we do that. And then to start this, I'm actually going to do this including the hole on the inside. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and draw my axis line on there. So I'm just going to do that again because I didn't actually snap that to the end point on there. So I'll start there and go and end that on there. Okay, if we haven't got relationship colours on, we can turn that on there. And if we don't end up linking our line up properly, we can use our connect to connect the end point to the origin point of that part. Next, I'm going to make sure I'm back on the line command. And I want to make sure this little command here called auto scale sketch is on. And then we're going to do like just a rough kind of shape. So when we're doing our initial feature, we're going to try and keep it roughly to size. So this needs to be 60 something. So I'm going to go and drag that down. I'm going to go up here. I know my overall dimension, my overall diameter is going to be about 300. So I'm going to go and take this to 120, 130. My overall thickness wants to be 40, but I'm just going to kind of drag that so it's roughly 40. And then I'm going to go back down and then across and then back to the end point on there. So that has got my initial feature on there. If I then go and dimension this up, this will go and scale it automatically when I make the change on this first dimension. So as I go and make that change on there, that will scale everything up all in one. If auto scale sketch isn't working, it's because we've got some kind of relationship to something. So because I've got relationships to this line on here, it's not working. So if we do that one as 40, if we do this one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of snap that up so it lines up with there. And then I'm going to go 37.5 on that. For the next dimension, I want us to know this is symmetric diameter. So I'm going to choose symmetric diameter, choose our axis revolution and this line, and go and drag that. I'm going to go and place this up here because I want this to be up here. So I'm going to go and do that, and that's going to be 296. And then I want to do the same again. So you can see my axis is still there. so we can go and create that one. If it goes the wrong way, we can just go and drag that and just say actually that wants to go there, and we can use the Alt key if we want to go and move this independently from this one. So it's kind of turn them into a group kind of thing on there. And then this one, I want this to be 93 on here. And then the last one of those I want is this internal bore. So if we do another one on there, I've just done that as a separate one. And make sure that's showing off there. Let's just drag it out on here. And then this needs to be 82.6 for here. Okay, we'll see that our sketches are all fully defined, they've all gone black. One thing that we need to do now is just define our axis of revolution, which is this element here. Don't be tempted to put rounds and chamfers in here. Have those as separate features, makes it much easier to edit these in the future. So I'm then going to close that sketch. That's then going to go back to our normal view. And in the extent step options, it might be on finite extent to start off with. We want to change that to revolve, and that's going to go and revolve that 360. And once we finish, that sketch is going to disappear. In Solid Edge 2023, we can see the profile, and we can go and turn that into a sketch where we'll go and put it before the protrusion, as though we're doing our normal history-based modelling on there. Okay, so next, I always like to do my rounds and chamfers and stuff as far down as possible on here. So for this, I'm going to choose, I want to do some holes. So for this one, the holes aren't really holes because they're more cutouts. So I'm going to do this as a cutout. We'll cover holes in more detail in one of the next ones. So I'm going to choose the extrude command. So the extrude now has got an option where we can go and add and remove. So I can do this at the start if I know that I want this to be a cutout specifically on here. And then I'm going to go and place this. And then that's going to go into the line art command, but I want this to be a circle. I know this wants to be 42, so I'm going to press 42 and enter, and that's going to go and put me a circle on my mouse. I'm then going to try and constrain this so it's centered. Notice I've got that red dotted line showing that that is linked, and that's going to remember that linked location. The next step I need is to decide how far that is away from here. So that's going to be my PCD option. This isn't important in this example, but I'm just going to set that to 100 on that. Then when I do the close sketch tick, no longer green, so just get used to that. It's in exactly the same place, it shouldn't make any difference. And then with extent step, we've got exactly the same options. I'm just going to make sure that's through next on there, and then finish and cancel out of that command. So I need to pattern that around, but I need some chamfers on there first. So we've got some 1.4mm chamfers, so we're going to follow the same process that we did before. This time in order slightly different. We just got one chamfer option, and we can go and choose the settings on here. So go to your options, make sure that's equal setback, 1.4 is our value. And then select the front and the back edge of that cutout. And then right click. We always get this dynamic preview, so if it looks wrong, we can go and do that option, and we can also rename at that point as well the feature. Okay, so now I want to pattern this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pattern it and forget the chamfer and go and add the chamfer. A bit of a learning kind of process on here. So if I choose the cutout and then choose pattern, Solid Edge is quite flexible, allows us to go and choose it either way. So if I choose pattern, the select step is obviously I can go and deselect or reselect the feature that I want. I can then accept that. Choose set patterns. This rectangular and circular patterns are sketch based, so we need a pattern profile drawn for that. We decide what kind of pattern profile we want up here. We can see we've got a circular or a rectangular. So for this one, we're going to do a circular. I'm going to hover over an arc, which will allow me to get the center point. And then I'm going to hover over an arc, which will then allow me to get a center point again on there. So I'm going to ask which direction we want. So obviously for this one we want to do 360, but sometimes we might want to do a partial option. So that's going to ask me for a direction. When we do that, it's going to finish. We can just click back on that line, and that's going to allow me to go back to the option. So for this one I want to do 8. If we press 8 and tab, we'll see we've got the little blue dots referencing how many of those we've got. If we then accept that, it's then going to close out the sketch, and it's going to give us our pattern preview on there, and I can then go and finish, but I forgot that chamfer on purpose. So we can go into the pattern, we can then go to our edit definition option, back to our select step, and then we can go and choose that chamfer. That's then going to go and add that to the pattern, green tick and finish, and that has now updated that pattern for us. So next we're going to do some rounds. So if we choose the round command, we can choose options on there. We can also choose these options. You can use keyboard shortcuts, E for edge, C for chain, F for face, A toggles between all fillets and all rounds. But for this one, I just want to do edges and corners. One good thing about this is if we've got an edge hidden in the background, we can go and select the edge as well, so we don't have to spin our model around to get any hidden edges. So we're going to choose 10 on there. And then that's my first one done. And then if we go back to select, obviously that is that edge on there. So if I select that, that's now gone dark green, so I'll finish that one. So I can then go and create another round on there. So if I go back into the command, I want to do a 3 this time. I want to select that edge, accept, and finish. Okay, next I want to go and add some material to this. So that part's good. There might be a chamfer on the back or something that we may want to go and add, but for this one, so material, we can just double click on where it says material none. That will start our appropriate materials table, and we can go and add the appropriate material on there. Notice our materials have got these nice new styles that we've got in this version, in this version of Solid Edge. So this one, I want this to be a metal, but I kind of we can go to other kind of stuff, and we're going to get different colours, and we can see what these look like. So even though the material wants to be a certain option, I want this to be yellow, so I'm going to go and use that option on there. We could have also used the option in the view and the part painter to go and paint it as well. So if I go into materials and actually do this properly, let's go and add our materials. Let's go and add our 7075, and then we're going to go and choose our part painter. And from here we can go and choose the appropriate style that we want on here. So I wanted a yellow. I can choose what I want that to be linked to, so I want that to be linked to the body, so that's everything that we've got on there. I want to make sure that we replace styles, and that's looking good. That's our part done. So I can then save that, and we can get on to the next part on there for me. Okay, so for this one I started a new sheet metal part. So you can see we've got the sheet metal commands at the top on here. And this one is going to be sketch driven. So I'm going to choose a sketch. I'm going to choose that plane. What I find sometimes when you're laying stuff out, it's sometimes a good idea to use layers. So I'm going to open my layers and I'm going to click the little pin option on here. Okay, so this allows us to go and move different stuff to different layers on here. Okay, so well, I'm going to have my default. I can rename any of those. So this is going to be, I'm going to say wheels and mounting bolts. And then I'm going to do another layer, and this will be outside profile. And then I'm going to do another layer, and this is going to be cutouts. So we're going to do some cutouts to save some weight on here. Okay, mounting bolts is also going to have an extra little tensioner bolt on it as well. So we double click on the layer that we want. Anything that we create is going to be added onto that layer. What I'm also going to do is shrink my Pathfinder down temporarily because I don't want that size at the moment. So for this one, I'm just going to start in the center and tap the S key. That's going to give me my symmetric size, and I'm going to go 700 on here. So this is the location of two of the wheels that we've got. So this needs to be a construction. So we can create this construction, or if we just left click on the line, we can use the option here to go and turn that into construction on there. Okay, so next I want to go and put a hole at this end. So diameter, I'm going to go 28.5 on there, and I'm going to place that at that end. And then I also now want to go and create a line down this end. I want to do a 60mm line. So if I input the size, and then if I choose symmetric or press the S key, that's going to allow me to go and place a line from the center point on there, and then just make sure I constrain that in the horizontal format on there. From there, because I want like tensioners, we've got a fixed wheel here and we've got a tensioner on this side. We're going to go and choose the symmetric offset. So we want to create a slot that's going to be the same as that. So our slot width is going to be 28.5. We want to have arc offset on the end. Radius would only be if we've got a sharp corner, which we haven't got. And that will allow me to go and choose that line. And then once we do that, we're going to right click on there, and we've got our slot profile on there. Okay, so next we're going to have another hole. You'll find that you will get some kind of history on here, so this can be useful. So for this, I've got a hole on here. I'm going to assume this is on the center. It's actually slightly to the left, but for this example, I'm just going to place that there, and then I'm going to use my smart dimension, and I'm going to click on that line and click on that hole. And if I move left to right, that's going to go and reset my constraint on there, and I can go and set that to 17mm, which is my size that I want on there. Okay, so next I'm going to go and place some more holes. So I'm going to do all these the same size, just to make it a little bit easier. So for this, I want 2 holes up here. These 2 will need to be aligned, so if we can make sure that when we place them we get the aligned holes, and then I want 2 more down here, slightly less far apart on here as we go on there. Okay, so that's good. Double check all those lines. Next I'm going to smart dimension these, so I want to do that hole to that hole and go and drag up, and then I want to do another one to that hole, and then that one and that one on there. These dimensions from left to right need to read 38, 112, 102 for this next one, and then 48 for this M1. And then height wise, we want the distance between the top and the bottom to be 114. Okay, and then if we dimension them up and down, so on here, we're going to go 64 on there. So this is now really easy. We can go and make changes on here. So if we want to go and move that, we can go and easily keep that associative by making those changes on there. Okay, one last feature for here. We want a smaller hole. So I'm going to go 12.5 on this one, and I'm going to go and place this just along this line here. So we've got that size, and then I want to do that 45mm from there. If we do place a dimension, it goes blue. We can choose the lock icon. Sometimes it's going to be because we've selected the wrong element on there for us to be able to create that. So if I go and do that one to there, that should allow us to go and make that so it's a lock dimension. Sometimes if you do have problems, you can use the distance between option. So I'm going to select the end of that line instead. Let's see if that works better. That's got that better now. Okay, so that's that one on there. I'll just leave that on the screen. Hopefully you can see that. You can come out your sketch and go into your sizes of your dimensions. If you need your dimensions to be bigger or smaller on there, you can also do it here as well. So we can go and make that a little bit easier to read. Okay, so now we've done that one, we're going to go and choose the outside profile. So you can see we've got our little pencil icon next to the outside profile on there, so that this can allow us to go and draw our profile, and this will allow us to kind of associate it to this model as well on here. So I'm going to start by drawing a line along the bottom, one up the side, and press the A key. That will allow me to go and create an arc. So I actually want two slightly different arcs. I want a slightly mellower arc here, and then as soon as you finish an arc, it goes back into line. So you can just press the A key again, and that will allow us to go and create a different type of arc. So now I want an even mellower arc, and then another arc, and this is going to be quite a sharp arc on here, which I want to go and try and take that so it goes back to horizontal. And then next I'm going to go and create a kind of dip shape on the end. So it's going to dip down, so it's equal between those two holes, and then we're going to go back up and try and get it so it's lined back up with there. We can get like the appropriate line showing that those are linked up. And then I'm going to go across and go and do similar kind of arcs, large arc, and then another arc that's going to come back down to this height down here, and then another line that's going to go and take it back to there. So these arcs, I want to leave these as arcs, but these ones I want to leave these as sharp corners, because we can go and add rounds to these better in the model than we can here. So once we've got that shape, we can use the equal command on these arcs, so we can have like equal curvature on these, which will go and make everything a little bit better. We can choose relationships on these, so we can do this using the relationships up here, but as we've got, if we're on Solid 2023, we can click on the line, choose the relationship that we want, and then click on the line that we want to go and relate that to on there. Sometimes in this instance it is a good idea to kind of have a little kind of figure out what's going on first, so it might be that there's a relationship issue on there that's stopping that. Do that, and then try going back and adding that relationship afterwards, see if that works a little bit better for us on there. These can also be dimensioned now, so we only need to do the one side on here. So on this one I'm going to go 50 on there. I'm going to use this line as a kind of reference point for me to get these two. So that one, I actually want that to be quite a bit lower, so I want that to be 80 on there. This line along here needs to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to go and try 200 on there. These two lines, I want these to be the same length, so I'm going to use the equal on those to have those become the same length on there. If I go and dimension one of those up and go and increase the length of that, we're going to get our angular change on there, quite nice on there. I'm going to just go a little bit higher on there. That's looking better. You can see that it's actually slightly too. Yeah, so I'm just going to go and shrink that a little bit, so we're not going over those holes. I'm just trying to think, what else can we do on there? Let's just go a little bit smaller on there, 120. That'll do there. Also, that's slightly to the side, so again, if I do an equal between these two, that's going to go and should go and centralize that up, but I haven't quite got enough dimensions on here yet. So let's go and set that one. Let's go and set that one to 600 on there. So we've got that one on there, that one on there. Also going to do a horizontal constraint between the end pointer there and the end pointer there. See what that does. Not quite what I wanted, so I'm going to go and do a equal constraint there first. Again, still not quite what I wanted. Let's go and dimension to there. That's definitely looking better. Let's dimension to the end point on there. try this equal between these two now, see what that does. Definitely better than we had before. We haven't got a dimension down to here, so I'm going to go and dimension that up. Let's go and try 115. That's not too bad. I haven't got a dimension for this line, so I'm going to go and shrink that down a little bit, see how that goes on there. This one's looking a little bit high. So we're just trying to get our, trying to have it a little bit more predictable as we're kind of working. If we click on a line and then go and drag an endpoint, we can see like the degrees of freedom that we've got as we go on there. So I can see that is moving left to right on there. So if I do an equal between those two, that's going to go and cause a bit of a problem on there. So let's just go and see if we can get an equal once we've got a dimension on there. That's not ideal on there. We can also use smart dimension for angles as well. So if I want to click on there, I can press the A key and then select a second line, and that will allow us to go and create an appropriate angle that we need to on there. So I'm going to try, let's try 160 is no good. Try and keep that as close to what it is at the moment on there. Okay, so I'm just going to dimension that up. Let's go 155 on that side, and I want a little bit more clearance on here, so I'm going to move that across there. Let's try 135. 135. Kind of wreck the shape that we've got on there. Okay, we could have obviously done this shape in a different kind of way, but I'm just trying to kind of match it the best we can on there. I'm thinking it might be easier if we go and remove these rounds and just go and round these separately. It depends on exactly what kind of shape we want on here. So I'm going to go and let's just keep this a little bit simpler. So these corners are causing quite a pain really. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to link these two endpoints vertically. So we've got a vertical relationship between those two now. And then I'm going to go and create a arc by 3 points on here. So I'm going to create a arc from there to there and go and create that. Let's go 90 on there. Make sure you get that in the right orientation when you click to confirm that. Let's try that again. Okay, you can always create that dimension afterwards to make sure that we get that orientation correct on there. So if I then dimension up between those two endpoints using our distance between, these tiny little changes can make a huge difference to the profile. Okay, again this side is a mess. So by keeping these sketches as simple as possible is going to make life much easier for us on there. So I'm going to go and drag the endpoint of that up over here. So that equal is going to cause us a bit of a pain, so I'm going to remove that equal command. Choose that on there. I'm going to do a horizontal vertical over to that side. So it's going to go and link that up nicely there. I'm going to do a arc by 3 points again, choosing this endpoint, and then drag that across. Let's just try that again. Didn't like that one. And then dimension that up. So we're going to go 90 on there as well, same as the other side. and then distance between those two endpoints is going to be the same as the other side, so we can right click, we don't have to worry about placing that one. So now we can just test, see if we can get some of these, make sure everything's not going to go too strange. So that's kind of worked quite nice on there. If we go and change this 120, this should allow us to go and bring this up or down. Or reduce this 180 might be the better option. Let's try 175, 170. Okay, 168. Let's try that. There you go. That's quite nice. Okay, so now we've got that profile. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hide the wheels and mounting, and I'm going to just work on this just to get this fully constrained without the rest of that in there. So that just needed a little option to get that nice and centered on there for us. And we can right click and go and show that again, so we can see what that looks like on there. Okay, so I'm actually going to put the cutouts in separately, but we can still go and add that to the layer on there. So if we close our sketch and finish, we can then choose our tab command. And on here, if we choose from the drop down here, we can do select from sketch. One thing that I also quite like, if you click the tab command, it doesn't come up with select from sketch. You press the up arrow on the keyboard before you do anything else, that will go to the select from sketch option on there as well. If we choose the chain on there and then accept, that will go and tab that chain. This probably wants to be about 10 mil thick. So if we go 10 mil thick on there and then finish and cancel. We can hide that sketch by turning the eye on and off if we need to. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to do some rounding on here. So rounding in sheet metal is called break corner. So if I choose break corner on there, first ones that I want to get all these internal ones, so I'm just going to fence select, and that's going to go and select all 6 of those edges. And I'm going to go 40, let's try that, see what that looks like. Let's try 80. That's still not much. So if we're going to set that to 150 on there, that's going to give us some nice large rounds on there. And then click finish. And then next we want to do these 2 top ones. So if we fence select those 2 on there, and then notice it's remembered our value from before. It doesn't like that 150. So if we go and change that down, I'm thinking 50 will do fine on there. Remember, input value and tab. Practice doing that. It's quite nice to see what that looks like. And then the last 2 are going to be these 2 bottom corners. So these ones again, we can go and input and tab and see what those look like. So we can go and try 80, 90. If we do go to there, notice it's going to give us an error. So if we're going to set that back to 80, if we've done that change, and then right click to accept and finish on there. Okay, so this is our kind of base feature. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select our features, our tab, our corners, use Shift or Control to go and select all those. And then, okay, we've got different options. But for this one, we can't actually do it. We haven't actually saved it. That's why. So if we go and save our part, if you're coming up with your own part numbers, if you just do this side plate, something along those lines, that'll be fine. Okay, so next, depending on what we're doing, so if this is going to be laser cut, I'm not worried about adding hole information. We could turn our sketch on and go and ping a load of holes onto these, but what What we could do on here is do a cutout. For sheet metal, we'd normally do a normal cutout if it's through a bend, but as it's not through a bend, we don't have to worry about that. So we can go and choose our cut option. Again, once we get to there, we can choose our select from sketch. And then we've got our different kind of options that we can do on here. So we can go and select the items we want to cut out, and it's going to go and select all these as chains. If it doesn't select as a chain, choose the chain command, and that will allow you to go and select that as an entire chain on there. Right click to accept, and then make sure our option is either through all or through next, and then make sure the arrow is going in that direction. If ever you want to go in both directions, you can click on the little yellow dot by the arrow, and that will make sure it goes through both directions at the same time. So there isn't a specific command for that, there's just clicking on that center, does both of those at the same time on there. Okay, so next we're going to do some weight saving cutouts. So for this one, we could either do this as a sketch, or we could do this directly in a cut. So I'm going to go and choose the cut command. I'm going to go and choose a coincident plane as an option, and then select this front face. Okay, and then if we go to our layers, we've got our layers. So our layers don't work when we're in a command like this. So notice our layers are all inactive. If you want this to work with layers, you would need to go and put this into a sketch. Layers are only active within a sketch. So I'm actually going to change the way that I'm doing it to make sure that we can go and use those layers on there. So if we do sketch and select that top face instead, you'll see this all now active again. So we can double click on cutouts, and that is now the active layer with a little pencil icon on it on there. Okay, so for this, if we go to the drop down by the hole command, or what we can now do is if you click on the hole command, you can then choose these little options to go and choose different holes. But for what we actually want, we want to do is we want to use one of these ellipse options. So I'm going to choose the ellipse command, and I'm going to go and create an ellipse. So I'm going to just do 3 clicks: start, center, and across. And what I find is quite nice, if once you've done your ellipse, if you come back out and just go and select back on your ellipse, you can go and input the sizes. So if I do primary 30, secondary 45, angle 90, that is going to get that positioned. That is going to give us the right size. We can then use our horizontal vertical command to go and lock the orientation. We can use a smart dimension to go and choose the ellipse and then choose a location for that to be created from. So I'm going to go 100 on there. Turn that option off, and then I do a second one to the point on there, and then for this one I'm going to go side to side, and we'll just go 20 on there. To get the ellipse fully defined, really we need to create dimensions on there. So I'm going to go and choose the dimensions to get that ellipse, to get that fully defined on there. So what do we do? 90 and 60, I believe, are the sizes that we're doing on that. To be honest, we can put one of those either side. So to make this easier, we can choose the mirror command, choose the element, and then click on the Z-axis, and that's going to go and create a mirror version of there, and then go back to the select command once you've done that. Okay, so next we're going to do 4 more ellipses. So I'm going to go to my ellipse command again. So I'm going to do ellipse by center point. So I want the next one to be in between the ellipse and the circle, just below the centre line. And then I'm going to go and choose my ellipse going up and then going across. And then we're going to do another ellipse going in the other direction. So we're going to choose the ellipse going that way and then the ellipse going that way on there. Because we can now use regions, we don't actually have to go and trim all this up. That kind of causes more of a problem. So I'm just going to go in and just go and set these sizes to the appropriate sizes that I want. So not minus 90, minus 80. What was it? It must have been minus 10. Yeah, minus 10. Secondary was going to be 24. And primary was going to be 48. And that one's going to be 80, 48 and 24. Sometimes when we have elements that are quite complex, we can be lazy. So if you want to go and choose those elements and you're totally happy with the position, we can just lock those in position on there. And again, I want to go and take those and I want to go and mirror that over to the other side using that Z axis on there. But now you can see we've got a bit of a problem on here. So what we'd need to do is go and delete the mirror command. So click the little mirror icon on there and the little lock icon from the mirrored side, and then we want to use the trim command. So if we find the trim command, it might be in a drop down with a slightly different setting, and we're going to go and trim that element on there. And to get this side correct and get it all back to being a region, I'm going to trim the rest of those so it goes back into being a nice region for us. Once we've done that, we're going to close our sketch. And then we're going to finish, and then we're going to use our cutout command. And we've got all sorts of different options. So if we go select from sketch, single, we can go and choose all of the edges, and that's going to go and select the appropriate regions that are within those edges. Just going to remember the setting from before, so we can go and choose that as a through option. But we need to remember to go and turn the sketch off, and then go and turn those other sketches off on there as well. We can then do some simple break corners. So for this, I'm going to go and do a fence select, which should get all those corners and none of the others in there. We need some 10mm rads on there to get that nice, so nobody's going to hurt themselves. And that's that part finished. For adding material, we can go to our material option on here, choose what we want. So for this, I'm going to go, it's going to be used outdoors, so let's go and add a 316 stainless steel, horrible to cut, but that'll last nicely, and then we're all done on there. Okay, welcome to the next one. So for this one, we're going to do a revolve, but I'm going to do this as a sketch, and again I'm going to use that right plane so the item looks correct. So I'm going to go and draw my axis again, ready on there. Okay, and then the shape that we want for this one is we're going to start on the center. I'm going to go up, across, down a little bit more than the first line we did, and then we're going to go across, and then we're going to come in, and then we're going to go up a little bit more, and then back to the start. Dimension wise, we want this overall one to be 88. Just be aware if you do a change like that, it's worth doing a Control Z and making sure that we go and dimension up anything else, and anything else first on there. So let's go and do that one. So that one needs to stay as 24. This end, if you're just doing a single line, you'll need to use Smart Dimension. This end, we'll have that as 10. This little notch on here, we'll have that as 8 on that. And then size-wise, let's do a symmetric diameter. So when you do symmetric diameter, I always kind of like create them, and we can go and create them from there. If you right click between each one, so let's just start that again on mine. It kind of allows you to go and position each one more manually. So if I right click and then go and choose the next one, that's my next one, and then go and right click and then choose that last one on there, and that allows me to go and have those in quite a nice controlled way on there. So this outside one, once it's got that, will be 298. This inside one, 227 will go on there, and then this one on here, we'll just go with 200 on that one. Okay, and that's got our profile fully defined on there. Again, no chamfers, no rounds, nothing on there. We can then close and finish. So we've got our sketch now. So obviously we're in ordered, but if we click on that region that's now been created, we can then go and choose Revolve directly from here. So that will allow me to go and then choose the edge that I want to kind of revolve around. So those that it's kind of like similar to synchronous modeling, but just in order. So we've got that there. That's looking pretty good. Turn the sketch off. Next, we want some chamfers. I know we kind of normally do these towards the end, but I just want to kind of get this looking more correct straight away. So I'll do a couple of 6mm chamfers on those edges. And then on the 3 edges over this side, I want to do some 2.5s. So I'm going to go 2.5 on this outside edge and these 2 end edges on there. Okay, so we should still have a sharp corner there, and we should still have a sharp corner there. So we can then finish. So that's our initial shape done. If we then go and save that, so if we call this offset flange. Okay, so I said earlier about putting holes in. So for this one, we're going to go and place some holes. So I'm going to choose the back view on there. We can also use a keyboard shortcut, Control K. That will go and take us to the back view. And then just use your middle mouse button, scroll wheel, and just move that off to the side. So for this one, I'm going to choose a hole. And then plane step, I'm going to select this back face on there. So if you do need to orient the plane, there's always options at the bottom of the screen that tell you what to do. I'm not going to cover those in this one, but there's some real nice options on there. And then we've got our hole on our mouse that we can do on there. But for this one, I want to kind of snap it to a pitch circle diameter or bolt circle diameter on there. So I'm going to go to my hole command and go and drag that and go and take that to let's go 260 on there. Keep it nice and easy on there. I can turn that into construction or using this option, but we don't need to in there. But sometimes people like to do that. And then for this one, we need to kind of position the holes in kind of certain locations. So this first one needs to be at 10 degrees. So if I press the tab key and go to 80, that's going to allow me to go and create a line that's going to go to there at that value. And then right click, start another line, and there. And I want to create 4 lines going across here like this. Okay, so we can kind of cheat here. So I want horizontal and vertical there. I want horizontal and vertical between those two. That means if I then go and create a dimension, so I want to use the angle between, which can allow me to create multiple dimensions at once. So that allows me to create that dimension. that dimension, and that dimension. That allows me to easily go and control this. Obviously that one is being controlled by this one, so if I set that on to 20, I've got that, and I've got the 4 points that I now need to go and place my holes on. These also need to go around the other side. We don't have to worry about that. We can use the x-axis to go and mirror that down. So let's go and have a look at the hole options dialog box that we've got now. I actually need to come out of this and go into there. So I haven't actually specified where the holes are going to be, so if that comes up, just click the red cross and then go and specify the hole from this icon up in the corner, and go and specify that at the end point of each of those lines on the pitch circle diameter that I've got on there. Once we exit that, it's going to allow us to go and place our holes, but we want to go into this option here and go and have a look at our hole wizard on here. This will allow us to go and choose all the different options. I'm just going to bring this center middle. So for these, it allows us to go and choose 5 standard type of holes, and then choose your standard, your subtype, your size, fit. Allows us to go and add thread direction, allows us to go and add tolerance in, everything that we could want from a hole. So for this one, I want to do a counterbore. I actually want this to be totally custom. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to go and choose millimeter. So this is going to allow me to go and ignore all that and go, actually, this needs to be, say, 24. This needs to be, say, M16. So let's go 17 on there. Depth, let's go 17 as well. V-bottom angle doesn't really matter because I want to go through next. So if we turn that off, that's going to go through there. Maybe I want to start chamfer on here. So start chamfer, let's go 5mm at 45 degrees, maybe 3mm actually. I'm just going to go in 2mm even. Do I want a neck chamfer? No, it's going to add too much cost to the part. Do I want a chamfer at the end as well? No, I don't want that on there. We can go and save this for whatever we want. So this hub mount hole, and we can then click save. That will then be available in the drop down on there. You can go and remove those, the standard ones in there if you need to on there, and then click OK. See what that's going to look like. That looks what I was expecting, which is nice. And then we actually forgot to go mirror these, so at this point we can go back to our hole step. This will allow us to go mirror all of those holes in there. So that's going to go mirror all those hole locations to the other side. So we've now got our 8 mounting options, finish, and we're all good on there. Okay, so next we're going to put some more holes in. We want to create 2 hole patterns for this one. So I'm going to go and create a sketch so we can go and put each hole in independently. So this first one, I'm going to do a 230mm circle on there. That's going to give us our pitch circle diameter. And then these patterns, I want one hole starting approximately over here, and I want another hole starting approximately over here. I want to do a smart dimension between these 2 lines, so I want to do that line, press the A key to get my angle, just tap it, and then do that one. And we're going to have 34 degrees between those 2 on there. And then I want another one. If we just click on a single line and press the A key, that will allow us to go and create an appropriate dimension on there. So that needs to be 18 degrees down from there. So this is our sketch that's we're going to put one hole there and pattern partial that way, one hole there, pattern that partial that way, with different angular spacings. So if we close that sketch and finish, and then go and find our hole command. So with our hole command, we're going to go onto that same plane we chose before. We can actually snap our hole directly to these. So I'm going to do the first one first. So we're going to snap on there, close, and then go to our options. And we need to make sure that we've got a threaded option, isometric, standard M thread, M10. Make sure this is our finite extent hole. Let's go 35mm through there. We can add a tolerance on here if we need to. We can go V-bottom angle. Make sure we've got our normal right-handed thread and the thread is to our hole extent. And internal minor diameter is the option set on there. If you want to do a 3D thread, you need to choose that option. That is the only one that will work with the 3D thread. We don't want to change anything to do with the chamfers at the bottom. We can go and save this later. M10 times 35 dp. So we can go and use that next time we want to go and set this. We could also save as default, which is a nice little option. And then choose finish on that. Okay, and then while we're in the whole command, we may as well just do the same and just quickly place this other one on there. And green tick. We shouldn't have to do options because default should have been remembered from the last time. And then we can cancel out of there. And then we can go and close the eye, turn the eye off on Sketch 2 to get rid of that now. So next we need to do our patterns. So if we choose our pattern command, choose the feature that we want to pattern. So I'm going to choose the first hole that we did. On mine that's hole 11, might be a different number on yours. Accept, and then select the front plane on there. If we can make sure the orientation is kind of like, almost like you've done, like you selected the back plane on there. And then for this we want to choose over on our options on the command bar here, choose a partial. Click on the origin of the part. Click on the center of the hole. So I'm going to click on there and I'm going to go and drag that round to like a 3:30, 4 o'clock position over here and just left click to place. We can then go and change this to the appropriate option. So I want to count to 7, a sweep of 224. So that's going to give us 32 times 7 is 224. So that's going to give us the locations that we want on there. We can see that there might be a bit of an issue possibly here. So we might need to go and change that 230 value in that original sketch to get that correct. That's kind of okay, isn't it? That's worked. But so what's actually the problem is this hole 1 is actually on the wrong PCD. This needs to go slightly bigger. So if we click on this hole and then choose the third option on here, dynamic edit, we can then go and see we've got this 26 value on here. So if we go and change that to 265, that's going to move that over to the edge, closer to the edge where this needs to be. So if we go a little bit further, I'm not sure exactly what the size is. I think it should be 265. So if we leave that on that size, that's fine. Just keep an eye on these if you do get any options, so we can see that we've got an option. We've got an issue on there. Constraints are over-defined. So if you do get anything like that, just double check. Go back into your sketch. Make sure that everything is okay on there. It might be that there's some kind of relationship on there that is causing an issue. So we can go and delete and go and recreate the relationship to the appropriate item that we need to on there. So I think there's a relationship at this end as well that's causing the issue. So that's looking okay. Let's just like that. You can also press the doing smart dimension. You can press the A key, and that will go and dimension it between an angle and an arc length on there. So that's allowed me to go and fully constrain that in a different kind of way on there. And finish, and just keep an eye on here. We've got no errors. That's great. So next we need to do the same, but for this hole. So if we choose our pattern on there, that hole is the feature that we want to work on. Accept. Choose that face on there. Same as what we chose before. Do our partial. And then we're going to go and choose there. So when we're doing this, easier to zoom in so we can get that. And then go and choose the appropriate direction. If it kind of starts to go the wrong way, just kind of spin it around the way that you want that to go. And then go and drag that down to where that wants to go. So that wants to come just before the lowest setting on there. Okay, and then we can go and choose. So this one we want 5 instances. And so we've obviously got 14 gaps. So if we do 17 times 4, that's going to give us our angle. So that's our 68 degrees that we need. So we don't have to use calculators or Obviously we can do it in our head, but sometimes if it's a little bit more complex, that can be quite useful. So that has got our 5 17-degree increment items. Remember, we can click on that smart dimension, choose that, press the A key, and that is going to go and fully define that for us. Even though we've done it there, it's the same as drawing a sketch. Until you put a dimension on, it's not really fully defined. If we then close that sketch and finish, we should see we've got those features all done on there. And that is the end of that part, apart from adding material. I love to add a bit of material, so let's go and find something nice on here. Let's see what does titanium look like? What does zinc look like? Anything that looks a bit more interesting. I'm going to do a gold. It's got these nice new colours on there, so that's pretty cool on there. So we do have physical threads on Solid Edge as well. So if you do have any of these items that we can always go into this little option on here, edit definition, or we've got this specific 3D print option that allows us to go and do physical threads, and that will allow us to go and select all threads and convert those if possible. If we've got stuff that's too close to edges, we may end up with a problem. In this instance, I'm not sure, so let's see what that does. This can be useful for 3D printing for prototypes, also for checking the exact weight of something as well, because a 3D thread will obviously reduce or increase the weight ever so slightly of a part. These are going to be quite awkward because these aren't fully enclosed loops on these. Let's give this a few seconds and see what it does. Okay, there they are. They did take a while, but we've got those physical threads nicely on there. Okay, so let's save that one and on to the next. Okay, for this one we're looking at sheet metal. So I'm going to create a tab. Because it's sheet metal, I want to build it so it's kind of like lay flat on the floor, which is the top plane on there. So I want to do 2 circles to start off with. So I want to do an inner circle that's going to be 260 mil. And then I do an outer circle. Let's go 305 for that one. We can then close our sketch. And we can use these regions. It's going to recognize that we've got this auto nested tab on here. I want to go 6 mil thick on here. No, let's go a little bit less than that. Let's go 3 mil thick on there. And make sure the material is coming in the upwards position on there, and then finish. Okay, so we could have made this tab more complex, but you'll understand why I'm doing what I'm doing on this next step. So this next step, I want to turn this into a 15-sided circle, if you know what I mean. So what I'm going to do a cut. I'm going to select that top face, and then I'm going to go and choose my n-sided polygon. So this is our option on here, polygon by center. So I still call it n-sided polygon. It's what it was many years ago. We've got different options, but by vertex or by midpoint. We want 15 sides, as I've just mentioned. I want to choose the center, and then want to kind of drag off to here. So notice, actually that's the wrong way. Great thing, we can go and change that to by vertex instead. So we've now got that point on there, and we've got a profile. The outside profile has been turned to construction automatically. We can then close that sketch, and then we've got this little option on here. So what we sometimes have to do is jump back to side step and go, actually I want to go and remove the material on the outside, and I want to remove that in both directions at the same time. I really like that little yellow dot button that allows me to go and remove all those, and then we can finish, and we've got our part on there. Lovely. Okay, sometimes if I know I'm going to be patterning 15 again and again, I will go and create a sketch, and I will go and create a sketch pattern for that item. So whenever we reference a pattern, we can easily do that. Notice my orientation is a little bit strange. So if we press the P key when we're hovering over it, we can match that to one of the base planes. So the P stands for the base plane on there. And then in here, we've got our sketching, but we've also got these options on here. So I'm going to go and create a circular pattern. We're going to choose the draw profile step. We're not patterning anything. And then we're going to go and drag that. I'm going to go and drag this to this button because I want to kind of pattern from the midpoint of one of the edges. So rather than me trying to figure out what that point is there, I'm just going to go and take that straight down to there. So this one wants to be a full circle, and we want to do 15. Any patterns that we do, we want this to be 15, and then just left click to confirm that arrow. And that is now got my pattern ready to go. Not doing anything with it, but we've just got it there. What we can do sometimes is just make this so we understand on there. So if I put pattern X times 15, whatever we want in there, that's going to allow me to know that that is my 15 pattern that I can go and turn on and use if I need on there. So now I want to go and create a flange. So I'm going to create a flange on here. So using the flange command, if you've got default set in, it'll be under the drop down under the multi-edge flange. There's no reason we can't use a multi-edge flange though, so I might just do that instead actually. I'm actually going to put it on this edge just to kind of make sure that, because that's the edge that we patterned from, just kind of makes it easier for somebody else to understand on there. So I want to do that flange, I want to go 50 mil. And we can go and change this angle on here. So I want an 11-degree angle from the bottom, so I'm going to do 169 degrees on there, and that's got that lovely for us on there. The one thing why I probably would have done it the old way, using old flanges, I'll be able to go and make some other kind of changes. So now I've shown you that one, I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it. So I'm going to choose that edge. Let's go up. The size doesn't really matter because I'm going to go and change that. Let's go and change that angle back to 169. Not sure why that's gone bigger, so I'm just going to come back out of that and try that again. Okay, that's doing something strange. Let's make sure that we've got bend outside. There we go, that's what the problem is. Okay, so there's our flange on there. I'm just going to go to the profile step and have a look at that. So I actually want to kind of customize this a little bit. I'm trying to think whether I do that now or do that later. I'm going to do that now. So let's go and get these angles. So these kind of go back to the center point. We can go and just remove these angles if we need to. So if we want to go and customize this, I can go and choose that angle, and we can go and connect the center point to the line. That will kind of connect that up on there nicely on there, which is kind of what I want to do. So we've got that flange looking pretty cool on there. Close that. Let's see what that looks like now. Double check if I go onto the top. Make sure that's back to bend outside and finish. Okay, that's not too bad. So let's see if we can pattern that. I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to, but let's try, because that's going to be clashing as we go to the other one. So great thing about this is now when we've got this, we can select from sketch, and within that sketch we've already got our pattern, so we can easily go and choose that, and that's going to allow me to go and pattern that quite quickly. You'll see that this has actually gone from fast to smart, so it realizes that it's clashing, so it's having to do some weird calculation on there to get that to work on there. So that's our kind of shape that we want. I want to put some cutouts with this in the flat option. So in the little drop down here, I'm going to choose unbend on here, I want to select this plane to be the plane that's going to stay. I'm going to tap the A key, and that's going to do all those bends. And that's going to go and unbend all of those bends all in one go on there. And then finish and cancel. Okay, so now I'm going to go and put some kind of cutouts in here. So I'm going to put a cutout, pattern this, and then go and rebend this. There are tools we could do, closed tube end corner and stuff to make this work, but sometimes a nice manual process can be quite useful. So I'm going to choose the normal cutout command. I'm going to select this plane. Again, I'm going to use that P key to get that orientation correct on there. Even though my pattern's there, I want to do it here because that is my only straight edge that I've got. So for this, I'm going to go and choose. I'm going to do a circle. Let's go 2 mil on there. I want another circle at this end for that bar that we did at the very start to go into. So I'm going to do this 17 mil, and I'm going to place it something like there. That'll do for now. Let's dimension that up to that original hole. And 35 is what we want. Just double check that's all still within there. And I'm just going to go and create 2 lines coming from the silhouette points on the left and the right, going up to here. So that's the one. Right click to cancel the line. Start that one, bring that one up on there. And then use your trim command to go and get rid of this bit on there. And we should be pretty good on there, apart from this little trim that I forgot on here. There you go. So now we've got our region. So obviously because we're on 2023, we've got the region closed sketch indicator now, which shows that closed sketch for us, which is really useful. Okay, we can then go and close our sketch. And then obviously we've got our different kind of options that we're looking for. So side step, make sure that we're going inside. Want to make sure that we're doing a through next. We've got all sorts of options on here. Remember what I've kind of mentioned. If we click on that yellow button, that should allow us to do that. If that won't, it means that there's something else strange going on. So let's have a look at the extent step. See if we can change the cut options. So yeah, changing that to a mid-plane cut rather than a thickness cut will allow us to go and do that on there. Okay, so next we need to go and mirror that, pattern that even. So remember we've got our sketch already there, so it's quite easy for us to now go and pattern that. So choose that, click on that sketch on there, accept. Fingers crossed it works okay. This time it's picked up fast. Smart will slow it down, but fast is the way to do that. That's pretty good. Now we can go and rebend these. So let's see what this looks like if we do a rebend. So we just click rebend, click the A key or choose all. And that's going to go back into there. And I don't like these sharp corners, so I'm going to do some corners on there. I'm just going to fence select just so we get all those. And I do some 1 mil just to get those sharp corners out of the way. If it won't do it, just try some different sizes. So go and change those up and down because it's kind of picking up these corners, which is actually what the problem is on there. So that's where it might be easier if I just do the break corner. I go and kind of fence select there, say 1 mil. So 0.5 will be fine on that. And then it's just a matter of just going around and selecting those, or we could go and do a pattern on those if we wanted to, but sometimes just doing it manually can be fun. Okay, so that's the last one. And accept and finish. So just double check your tree every now and then. Turn any sketches off. So we've got that. That's pretty good on that. And then if I go to my tools, flatten, choose that face, and then you normally try and pick an edge that's parallel to the x-axis with the yellow dot the same. So notice that's got the orange dot at the same end as the yellow dot in relation to the x-axis. So that means that when we place these on a draft, the formed and the flat pattern are going to appear in the same kind of orientation. So that's pretty good on that. Let's go, let's come back out of flat pattern. Click back on ordered on there. And so one thing that we probably could have done was if I go and suppress that break corner on there. So if I go and turn that off, so I've got the sharp corners. What we can actually do is go and do that within the flat pattern itself. So if I go to my if I go to the flat pattern command on there, we've got options in here where we can go and make a change to that. So if I just click edit definition on the flat pattern, and then we go to flat pattern treatment, we've got these options that we can do. So actually I want to put some radius on the outside. I'll say 0.5, apply, OK. That's now going to apply those as a kind of treatment. So our model is going to have the nice corners, but when we see it as the sheet metal, it's going to still have those sharp corners. So we can choose it one way or the other. Doesn't matter which way, but if we do that on the flat pattern, we might end up with an error on the flat pattern if we go around that twice on there. Okay, last step, let's go and add some material. So all sorts of different ones. So let's go and do a steel, and we'll do let's do a 316 and apply that, and we've got our steel texture, and I'll save that, and that is the last one of the modelling. Hopefully you've enjoyed those. Thank you.